Welcome to UGC NET Linguistics. Topic: Sociolinguistics. Languages and dialects in India. Language is a person's ethnic identity. Language, a person's ethnic identity. There are 23 official languages in our country, India. There are many other languages which are recognized by the government of India but are not official languages. Hindi has more than 10 varieties, 10 dialects. The Indian Constitution uses the term mother tongue instead of language or dialect. Government of India recognizes 231 languages. Government of India recognizes 231 languages. Bilingualism. Bilingualism. Ability to speak two languages. Frequent use of two languages by a community. Political or institutional recognition of two languages. 70% of the population of the world bilingual or multilingual. Bilingualism can be the property of an individual, but equally it can be the property of an entire speech community. Note: bilingualism and multilingualism are often used interchangeably. A person who can speak two or more languages is often called multilingual. Bilingualism in India, government sponsored. English as a bilanguage is government sponsored. English as a bilanguage is government sponsored. Lingualism. Discrimination based on language or dialect. Lingualism. Discrimination based on language or dialect. The term coined by Kangas in 1980. Lingualism. Kangas 1980. Kangas. Lingualism 1980. Kangas. Lingualism 1980. Linguistic imperialism. Linguistic imperialism. Let them be black in color but white in blood. Lord Macaulay to the British Parliament 1835. Lord Macaulay to the British Parliament 1835. Let them be black in color but white in blood. Example of linguistic imperialism. UG/PG courses in English first started in Calcutta, India, then in England. Impose of ideology through language by the powerful on the weak. Linguistic imperialism. Impose of ideology through language by the powerful on the weak. Linguistic imperialism. imposition of one language on the speakers of other languages. Linguistic imperialism, imposition of one language on the speakers of the other language. Linguistic imperialism, global expansion of English, an example of linguistic imperialism. Esperanto. Esperanto, a kind of theoretical or universal language. Esperanto, a kind of theoretical or universal language. Esperanto, universal language. The linguists are trying to develop such kind of language which can be used by the people all over the world. Diglossia, high, low. Diglossia, high, low. Diglossia, first identified as a distinctive phenomenon of language dialect by the American linguist Charles Ferguson in 1960. Charles Ferguson, American linguist, Diglossia, 1960. Charles Ferguson, Diglossia, in 1960. Charles Ferguson, Diglossia, 1960. Charles Ferguson, Diglossia, 1960. Diglossia. Sometimes a speech community uses two dialects. There is a strong tendency to use one of the two for special, prestigious, or formal occasions. This prestigious dialect is called high and the other low, commonly spoken. High and low categories of the same language. High and low varieties of the same language. Diglossia. Cognate. Cognate. The words of different languages match partially in sound and fully in meaning. Cognates, words of different languages which match partially in sound and fully in meaning. Brother in English matches partially Bhratra in Sanskrit. Brother in English matches partially Bhratra in Sanskrit. Mother in English matches partially Mata in English, in Hindi. Mother in English matches partially Mata in Hindi. All myths have sense relation, semantics, pragmatics, entailment. Semantics, then pragmatics, then entailment. Semantics, pragmatics, entailment. Diglossia, coined by Charles Ferguson, 1960. Diglossia, Charles Ferguson, American linguist, 1960. Diglossia, Charles Ferguson, American linguist, 1960. Diglossia, it first appeared in his famous paper titled Diglossia, World Journal, 1959. Diglossia, a situation in which two dialects of the same language exist side by side throughout a speech community, each one assigned a definite but non overlapping role. Diglossia, also called narrow diglossia, broad diglossia, Joshua Fishman, broad diglossia, Joshua Fishman, Joshua Fishman, broad diglossia, Joshua Fishman, broad diglossia. Broad diglossia, a situation in which two different languages exist side by side. For example, in India, Tamil Nadu, Hindi and Tamil live side by side, but in formal setting, people use Hindi. Broad diglossia, Joshua Fishman, 1971. Broad diglossia, Joshua Fishman, 1971. 1971. Triglossia, an approach when one language or one dialect is superior to be higher supposed. Triglossia, an approach when one language or one dialect is supposed to be higher than other two languages or two dialects. Triglossia, an approach when one language or one dialect is supposed to be higher than other two languages or dialects. Speech community. Speech community. The people living at one place and communicating through one language or one speech. Speech community. Leonard Bloomfield. Speech community. Leonard Bloomfield. Speech community by Leonard Bloomfield. Speech community. Leonard Bloomfield. The people living at one place and communicating through one language or one speech. Speech community, a group people who use same set of speech signals called speech community. Leonard Bloomfield. Speech community refers to the concepts of monolingualism. Speech community refers to the concept of monolingualism. Language community, a group of people speaking same language but staying in different places. Language community, a group of people speaking same language but staying in different places. Repertoire or verbal repertoire. Repertoire or verbal repertoire. Repertoire, a range of varieties of language, a range of varieties of language, a range of dialects in an individual's mind, a range of dialects in an individual's mind. Language competence of an individual. Repertoire, language competence of an individual. Total range of linguistic resources available to an individual. Sridhar, 1996. Sridhar, 1996. Sridhar, 1996. Repertoire. Sridhar, 1996. Verbal repertoire. Sridhar, 1996. verbal repertoire. Speech repertoire. Repertoire of a whole speech community. Note: Feral Child, Mowgli, The Jungle Book. Chomsky, 1965, introduced the term linguistic competence. Chomsky, 1965, linguistic competence. Chomsky, 1965, linguistic competence. Linguistic competence. Noam Chomsky, 1965. Linguistic competence. Noam Chomsky, 1965. Linguistic competence. Noam Chomsky, 1965. Communicative competence. Dalheims. Communicative competence. Dalheims. Dalheims. Communicative competence. Dalheims. Communicative competence. Dalheims opposed the concept of linguistic competence by Noam Chomsky. Communicative competence comprises a. Language users' grammatical knowledge and social knowledge. Communicative competence comprises language users' grammatical knowledge and social knowledge. Communicative competence: how and when to use language appropriately. How means users' grammatical knowledge, and when social knowledge to use language appropriately. Sanskrit seems to be like Latin and German, but nobody knows who is the mother of these two languages. These two languages means Latin and German. William Jones. Ferdinand de Saussure. Ferdinand de Saussure, Swiss linguist. Linguist of Switzerland. Ferdinand de Saussure, from Switzerland. Ferdinand de Saussure, a linguist of Switzerland. Ferdinand de Saussure discovered time dimension as in language, synchrony and diachrony. Synchrony and diachrony. Discovered synchrony and diachrony. Synchrony and diachrony. In a diachronic approach, how a language changes over some period of time. Diachronic approach. How a language changes over a period of time. Diachronic approach. How does a language change over a period of time? Example: historical linguistics. Historical linguistics. Synchronic approach. How does a language change at a point of time? Synchronic approach, at a point of time. Diachronic approach, over a period of time. Both changes, current and previous, appear at the same time in synchronic approach. William Labov. Social stratification of R sound. Social Stratification of Ra sound. The social stratification of English in New York City, 1966. William Labov. Social stratification of English in New York City, 1966. 1966. William Labov. Sociolinguistic patterns. Sociolinguistic patterns. William Labov. Sociolinguistic patterns. William Labov. Sociolinguistic patterns. William Labov. Thank you very much.